بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما نافعا يا كريم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear respected viewers. Inshallah, tonight we will complete the final topic that we will discuss concerning tahara, purification before salat, which is al-mashu ala al-isabati wal-jabira, wiping over dressings and bandages or casts and splints. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هُوَ جَتَبَاكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen you and did not impose any difficulty on you, did not impose any haraj, any difficulty on you in the religion, in the deen. So therefore the scholars are in agreement, the mujtahidun, the imams, the a'imma, that this is a requirement and this is permissible to wipe on the bandage or on the splint or cast in place of washing the body part. And this will take place of washing, as long as that person is excused and has that excusable difficulty and cannot wipe or cannot wash that injured limb, then this is permissible. So basically, if a body part is injured, wounded or fractured, and a bandage has been applied to it, and the person can neither wash nor wipe the body part, that limb directly, he will wipe or she will wipe over the major portion or most of the bandage, and he will continue wiping till the injury is healed. So it's straightforward. The principle is that I must wash those limbs that need to be washed for wudu and the entire body for ghusl. If that is not an option, if I'm unable to do so due to an injury, a cut or a wound or a fracture or a broken bone, whatever the case may be, then I can wipe over that area. If that is not an option, if I'm unable to wipe, then I can place a bandage or a band-aid and wipe on that thing that is covering the injury. And the fourth step, if that is not an option, then I no longer have to even wipe over that area. I am pardoned and excused from even wiping. So that is these are the straightforward details concerning wiping on the bandage or the cast. So these were the two conditions: that I'm unable to wash the limb for wudu or ghusl, I'm unable to wash that area. Neither am I able to wipe that body part. So now I must wipe over the bandage or the dressing or the cast that it has been applied and fixed over the wound. So I will wipe over that bandage. And I'll continue to wipe until that injury is healed. So if a person is able to wipe over that bandage or dressing and he or she does not, then a strong opinion, the opinion of the two students of Imam Abu Hanifa and majority of the Imams, is that this wiping is fard if a person is able to. Therefore, if that person does not wipe, their wudu and ghusl or ghusl is not valid, therefore the salat is invalid. So it is a very important matter. Likewise, if there is an injury on the head and the bandage is on the head, if there is an unaffected area that amounts to the rubu', the fourth or the quarter of the head, then he'll wipe that unaffected area. Otherwise, he'll wipe over the bandage that is on the head. So when am I unable to wash or wipe? In the case that it is going to cause harm, washing or wiping that injury is going to cause harm, then I'm excused, or it is going to increase the pain and worsen the injury, or it is going to slow the recovery of that injury based on my experience or the advice of a physician, or the experience of someone else that has been in the same situation. Concerning some of the rulings, it is not a condition that the dressing or the bandage be applied whilst in a state of tahara, ritual purity. Likewise, if a limb breaks and a splint has been fastened or fixed over it, he will wipe over the splint till the injury heals. It is not a condition that the splints be fastened whilst in a state of tahara, ritual purity. So it is the same case for a fractured bone or a broken bone that has a cast over it, and a cut or a wound or an ulcer that has dressing over it. In both cases, I do not have to be in a state of wudu or ghusl or tahara before applying that bandage or that cast in order to be able to wipe over it. This is in the Hanafi school, and majority of the scholars are of this opinion. And this is to remove difficulty, the difficulty that will be involved in that person being required to wash that injury before putting on the bandage or the cast. Also, from the rules related to the wiping on the cast, it is permissible to wipe over the splint of one of the feet and wash the other. It is permissible to wipe over the splint of one of the feet or the cast that is on one foot or the bandage and wash the other unaffected foot. As opposed to the khuf, we said both khuf must be placed on the foot in order for the wiping to be permissible. If one of them is removed, then I cannot wash one foot and wipe the khuf on the other foot. And we'll see, or the scholars have mentioned, that there are up to 25 differences between wiping on the khuf and wiping on the cast or bandage. And most of these matters that the scholars mention, the jurists mention, are to clarify and distinguish the differences between wiping on the khuf and wiping on the cast. Wiping of the splint will not be invalidated if the splint falls off before the injury has healed. So in these two cases, that wiping does not have to be repeated on the cast. The first is, as we said, if the splint or the cast or the bandage falls off before the injury has healed, so I needed to make wudu or ghusl, and I wiped over that bandage or that cast. If it happens to fall off or I remove it, I do not need to wipe on the new cast. My wudu is still intact and I am still in a state of tahara, purity. So likewise, the second case, replacing the splint with another is permissible and will not necessitate repetition of wiping over it. However, it is preferable to repeat wiping on the new splint after replacement. So in any of these cases, the wiping does not have to be repeated. If I placed an extra bandage, I wiped on the original bandage, then I placed another bandage on top of it, and I'm still in a state of wudu, I do not need to repeat wiping on the new bandage. Or I removed that bandage after having wiped on it, and I placed a new bandage, I do not need to wipe on the new bandage. And the final case, if after wiping on the original bandage, I removed the top layer and there was a remaining bandage underneath that, I do not need to re-wipe on the layer underneath that bandage that I have wiped initially. Also, it is permissible if a person a person's eye is infected or he suffers from an eye disease, and a qualified Muslim physician forbids him from washing his eyes, it will be permissible for him to wipe them. It will be permissible for him to wipe his eyelids. He can wash the rest of the area if that will not harm him. And when it comes to the eyelids, because of that condition that he has, he will be able to wipe. It is permissible to wipe. And if even that is going to harm his eye, then that is also pardoned and he does not even need to wipe. Finally, the scholars mention that forming an intention is not a stipulation or a precondition. It is not a shart for wiping over khuffain, the foot gear, a splint or bandage or dressing or band-aid, or the head. So these are actions of wudu, and we said wudu, for wudu the intention is not a stipulation for the validity of the wudu. Instead, it is a stipulation to attain reward for that wudu, to attain the reward of wudu. Rather, intention is only a precondition for tayammum. Intention is only a precondition for tayammum. So, to summarize what we said, if I have a bandage on my hand due to a cut or a wound, then I wash the unaffected area. I must wash the unharmed area as much as possible without harming the injured area. And whichever parts of my arm cannot be washed because of fear that they will harm the injured area, then I can wipe that unaffected area. And if that is, wiping is not an option and that is going to harm the injury or worsen it, then I can wipe over the bandage. So the wetness on the hand just needs to cover most of that bandage and not cover every single spot of the bandage in the Hanafi school. And if even wetness coming in contact with the bandage is going to be harmful or delay recovery, then I am pardoned from even having to wipe that bandage. So there is a balance between being too lax and saying, my arm, my hand is injured, therefore I do not need to wash my arm. That is unacceptable. And the other extreme that we need to avoid is being obsessive and thinking that I must wash the bandage or that I must wipe every single part of the bandage. Having the knowledge of the Hanafi school of law in this case will protect a person from this obsessiveness, knowing that all I need to wipe is most of the bandage and not every single bit, out of fear that it becomes soaked and bacteria and germs enter the wound, and then that may cause infection. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in beneficial knowledge and increase us in sincerity, so that all our acts of worship are accepted and rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.